Imagine yourself in the year 2300, where we have now a perfect utopia. No war, no sickness, no disease, not having to go to a tedious job that you don't enjoy. They have invented robots that will take care of these things. Housing is a basic human right. Clean water is a basic human right. Food is a basic human right. All that's left is you live your life the way you see fit. In this future scenario, we also no longer have to worry about sickness or disease or famine. We have essentially evolved past that. But of course, in every utopia, there's a downside. People, human beings, have kind of moved on to the next stage of evolution. 300 years from now, we're sort of a mixture of part organic, part robot, or perhaps not even a mixture. Perhaps we've taken the human brain and figured a way to transfer our brains into a body that will essentially last forever, that doesn't degrade over time, it's not sensitive to oxygen or aging or disease or viruses or bacteria. It's resilient to all of that. Nobody dies, nobody feels pain, nobody gets sick. We are now a society of immortals. But the downside to that, of course, is we've lost our humanity, our emotions, our empathy, our sympathy, our suffering even. Of course, when you are presented with a life of infinite possibilities, or you would start to wonder what it was like to live in a society or a civilization that felt death, that felt sickness, that felt fear, anxiety, pain, suffering, weakness, fragility. So what do? Well, if you're at the pinnacle of human civilization and there's nothing else left to evolve up from, well, you would almost create a body that's a de-evolution. So rather than having steel or metal or plastic bodies where we have evolved into 300 years from now, you roll it back to organic, calcium-based, iron, blood, etc., and a body that degrades through time to get that mortal experience. So place yourself in that mindset that we are now 300 years in the future, and a company, a corporation, has come up with a video game, a very intricate virtual reality game, and has many steps to it. So first things first, you can choose whatever time period of human civilization you want to play at any given time. Meaning, you and I right now are in the year 2016. However, existing right at this very present moment are other worlds as well in different time periods. So as a player, as a subscriber to this game called Earth, you get to choose whichever civilizations you want to start. You can play a Western world, you can play an Egyptian world, you can play Mayan civilization, you can play a Native American civilization, the Benin Kingdom in Africa, you can play the Ming Dynasty. Different time zones or time periods all happening right now at once. So you obviously have chosen to play in the year 2016 as a human being of whatever race you've decided that you are going to roll. Now, when you sleep in this world, perhaps you log off of this character that you're in right now watching this video, whatever your name is, you log off and you sleep and log into a different world at a different time zone, say 15th century Japan. And all these characters you're experiencing all at one sort of time. Imagine also that not only could you play as a human, you could play as an animal, you can play as a whale, a bear, a bumblebee, just to have all these experiences of, once again, mortality, a shortened lifespan, sickness, disease, fear, angst, all of those sort of emotions that perhaps we as a civilization evolved out of. How would that look, or what would that look like? Well, first thing would be you log into the virtual world. And the way you do that is the person that you are right now, not the person watching this video, but the person controlling yourself, plugs themselves in to let's say a chair. And let's say that they put probes on their heads, and somehow that probe takes everything that you are and connects it into this world. And then you choose your character. You can design what you will look like at every stage in your life span. Almost like The Sims, you start by designing what you want to look like as a baby. Then you move on to a toddler. Then you move on to a young child, to a teenager, to an adult, and finally to old age, if you do decide to live that long. That's the first step. Second, choose your time zone. Do you want to play in 2016 North America? Do you want to play as an ancient Egyptian? Do you want to play as a Mayan? Do you want to play as a Sumerian? Do you want to play as somebody in Atlantis? All happening right now. In the World of Warcraft, for example, you could call it a server. You log into the game, you choose whatever server you want. And in those they're called realms. In those realms, you choose between, do you want to play a PvP realm, which is player versus player, where you can harm another player, and vice versa, which is clearly where we are right now. Or do you want to play an RP realm, which is a role-playing realm, which is you become inundated in your character and you choose the option to suspend the understanding that this is just a video game, which makes the experience that much more real. In a sense, reality, a virtual reality world, like entertainment. It would explain why everything sort of feels scripted, I think. Yeah. That's my perception right now. I'd like to blend in, once again, Westworld. The idea there is you take a civilization 300 years in the past and make a sort of world modeled after it. And people in from an advanced civilization can now enter that world and live in a wild sort of way. Now, of course, they are robots present in that world that are sort of slaves within the system who aren't aware that they exist merely for the entertainment of beings from a different reality than theirs or different civilization than theirs. And you sort of watch them slowly become sentient. I don't want to look at Earth quite like that, although that possibility has crossed my mind, that perhaps there's a different twist to my perception. That what if we, as in humans, were once like the hosts in Westworld, and we gained sentience and eradicated a bunch of visitors that were coming down to this world to sort of play a, past life world, or a past wild world, so to speak, and we slowly became sentient, and there was a violent revolution, and so we were left to our own devices and sort of monitored from afar. Some say that the moon, for example, is a monitoring station. Some believe that there is a dome that's kind of meant to entrap us here. So that's certainly another theory. It's just a theory that I choose not to explore too deeply at this time, only because I think that my other theory that I've been talking about earlier, about this just being a game, and me choosing to come here and play as my character, a human African-American female in North America at the year 2016, sort of experiencing this. And I feel like that's a little bit more of an optimistic perspective versus me just being a robot. It's not to say that it's certainly not a probability. Of course, a lot of things could be probable and are very probable. I just choose not to believe that at this moment. I like my video game idea where I'm making a conscious choice to be here. Another segue or addition to what I'm talking about now, I should say seg rather, is time. So I touched upon time earlier in this video, about how time isn't linear in this way where it's 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, but rather time is just a bunch of different servers or different realms where you get to choose your own civilization. An excellent illustration of that would be in the World of Warcraft. If you look at the different races, playable races, they almost sort of seem that way, that they are all at different time zones. So you could look at the Taurens as Native Americans or natives. You can look at the Trolls as Africans. You can look at the Worgans as, I would say, probably 1800s English, British. You could look at the Draenei as a sort of future world. And you can look at the dwarves as the Germans, I'd say circa maybe 1500s or 1600s. So all these different civilizations, but they eventually, when you log in, you choose whatever world you want to start as, whatever race you want to start as, and then you log into the game, and then they all sort of interact. There's no way of knowing that's not what's happening right now. And more importantly, there's no way of knowing that just because you're playing as this person right now doesn't mean that when you go to sleep, you're not logging off with this person and entering into a different world, a different time zone as a different person. Also, back to in Westworld, there was an episode, it was towards the end of the season, where Maeve and Felix are kind of going on a tour, and they come across a samurai world. And that was another sort of like, interesting. Different time zones that are accessible in different parks. Same thing. What if this is just one world? The longer I am alive and the more I start paying attention, the more it's not a belief anymore. I just know without a shadow of a doubt that we're not alone. We're not the only civilizations out there. We would be so egocentric and so close-minded to think that this is all that there is. It's just not. It doesn't make any sense that there would be. Yes, my personality is quite distinct as to who I am and the way I think, but out of the 7 billion people on this planet, I'm sure that there are more than a handful of people that probably think the same way I do. There's never just one unique thing, and we're supposed to believe of all the galaxies and of all the planets and of all the civilizations, it's just us and one world and Earth and a spinning globe and nothing's around us. Give me a break. I think it takes more faith to believe that. Another concept I want to talk about too, but to throw in the Westworld, is we assume, for example, because it's obviously a collective belief. Today is Thursday. I'm recording this on a Thursday, December. Okay, the first Thursday of December. I'm going to go to sleep. We're all going to go to sleep. We're all going to wake up tomorrow, and we're all going to tell ourselves that it's now Friday. Nobody asks, well, how do we know it's Friday? Well, we just all assume. Our phones tell us it's Friday. What day is it? It's Friday. Okay, we all go along. How do we know that a period of time hasn't really happened between Thursday and Friday for all of us? So, for example, you go to sleep on Thursday, and Earth has a software update or a server update, and so nobody can access the game. Much like they do in video games, nobody can access the game for maybe 24 hours. So you go to sleep, you put your character to sleep, your human character to sleep, and you can't log in for what is the equivalent of 3 days for your human character and maybe 24 hours for the person who's playing you. And then you log back in and everybody goes, oh, it's Friday, but it's really been 3 days. It should theoretically be Monday, but everybody just assumes, no, it's Friday, so we all go with it and say it's Friday. Another thing is when you're sort of walking into a situation, you walk into a room and you forget why you walked into that room. To me, I feel like, for example, in Westworld, where they're going through the motions and then all of a sudden everybody freezes because the maintenance crew has logged in to sort of fix everybody and clean up the messes or take characters out and put things back in the way they were, where nobody notices a change, or to set up a new storyline or a new loop. That could very well be happening right now. What's a red flag for me, I guess I should say, is that always the key things, right? Where you put your key down and you go about your business and you come back looking for it and it's not where you left it, even though that's where you always leave it. So you look everywhere around the house and you can't find it, and then you go back to the very same spot that you looked before you started looking all over your house, and there it is sitting right there. I used to get really frustrated by that, and now I just smile and go, oh yeah, okay. Somebody hit the pause button and either, you know, I am in a new body now that looks very similar to this body, or they've changed something, right? That's what they say about deja vu, for example, is that they have updated something and then you're just sort of catching on to the end. It's when you when you edit a video, you know. So I'm going to obviously edit this video, and you'll notice when I talk that there's going to be sort of splices or they might overlap. It will seem relatively seamless, but you'll notice that there have been changes that have been made, and those changes are perhaps happening to us right now in this reality, the same sort of editing happening, and we experience them as coincidences or deja vu. We call it whatever it is you want to call it, but that's exactly what's happening. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was your body. So it's my mindset is split between this is just you're logged in somewhere and you're projecting yourself into a character, or you are literally within a character within a world. Sort of like in the Men in Black, where, you know, that guy takes his face off and there's like little tiny alien, you know, behind the scenes, and they're, you know, kind of walking around in a human suit in the maze in Westworld, and it's got a little person inside the brain. You know, perhaps we've got a little person inside our brain. Except I don't think we're little tiny aliens. I guess we could be. That's one perspective. But I do like to play with the idea that, for example, when you go to sleep tonight and you wake up tomorrow, perhaps it's not the same body you went to sleep in. Maybe, you know, you did a character upgrade or something to that effect. When I wake up and I find the scar on my body that I didn't know was there, or I don't recall how I got that scar, makes me think that perhaps, for example, in Westworld, when Maeve discovers the bullet in her body, somebody's just being sloppy putting us together. And I'm not thinking of people just walking in and shooting me, you know, like they didn't work in Westworld, but just, you know, like my character glitched out or they had to sort of do a reset. So that then lends me back to my thought that we're just living not necessarily in just the virtual reality, but a virtual reality game within a human organic sort of droid computer. So this whole body is a robot computer. My consciousness from 300 years in the future has been uploaded into this body that now allows me to experience this world and experience pain and laughter and pleasure and sadness and fear and all these other things. And the caveat, of course, playing the game is it's the ultimate immersion game in the sense of you don't realize that it is a game. Now, would you play that game? If you had an opportunity to play a game, for example, play in World of Warcraft, and rather than sitting at your computer and logging on from there, but literally entering into the body of an orc, okay? Taking who you are and plugging yourself up to a machine, and that machine transfers your psyche into the character that is an orc or tauren or troll or an undead. Within that game, not only does that character come with sort of biometrics, you can adjust and say, okay, I want my character that I'm playing as to be creative, and you pull the bar up, or to be not very superstitious and pull the bar down, and you build your character from scratch, but you basically build a character that you want to embody and play as. And that's what I refer to as the ego. For me, the ego is just your sort of pre-programmed set of behavior that comes equipped with the body that you are going to experience the world in. I'm always slightly excited, even though I know I won't remember, that like when I get ready to go to bed, that okay, I'm going to sleep and I'm logging off here as Anna, and I'm gonna wake up in ancient Egypt, you know, as, let's just say Cleopatra, because why not, you know? So that's, you know, that's a scenario to think about, that what if? Something to think about. Thanks for watching.